Moving to the next question, getting a little more tactical, how do you go from a global perspective to manage the different types of invoices you get from all of your carriers? And I'm going to start with Jason here, and might tap Richard as a follow-up.
Yeah, no. I think this is again, this is all related to what we're speaking about, right? As you can see, the theme is kind of the same, right? Really, how do we do that? It goes back to how you prioritize the vendors, right? This is work. And I think one thing that is interesting, where I think the industry as a managed service needs to come back together, because we need to do this in a single source of truth, right? How you do that, how you map the vendors, right? How you deal with the different language. To JC's point, the AI has come a long way. The portals are becoming, I was talking to someone the other day. If you go back 10 years, the portals weren't there. The portals are there. Everything's moving to the self-service, right? The carriers don't want to have help desk. They don't want account managers. They want it to be managed. So what this is really having a very tactical, methodical approach and be able to map these vendors in a way that brings the data back in a way that is usable, right? And then we can manage that data. So it goes back to the same theme, using technology, using RPA, using the concept of hyperautomation, right? And able to map these vendors, keep this change management process. Once we've mapped them, there's a change management process to understand, right, what level of change, when change happens, identifying it in the moment is key, right? Not a month later. So when a change happens to a portal, right, you need to be real time and understand that and just continue to map that. And that will become the source of truth, right? What we call the concept of CMDB, right? Of the inventory and that change management process. So to us, that's the process we've taken on. We think it's the best practice, because without that data, really nothing else matters. All the reporting, the analytics don't work unless I have that core data. So for us is that process of doing it one by one, carrier by carrier, having the experts put together. I call it the expert workers, right? But transforming that expert workers from a BPO model into an automation model.
So it sounds like there's always this constant race to get all of those changes in before the next month of invoices has to be processed. So how are you able to manage that level of volume?
Yeah, and that's interesting, because we've created a operational center around RPA. And how you do it is, as I said, it can't wait a month. It has to happen when something breaks. So that change management process is one of the key kind of factors here of putting the automation in front and the people behind it, that I can make those changes in real time, right? And not having a person, an expert worker with a spreadsheet, right? Remove the spreadsheet, right? Remove that process. So having that ability to go and understand the vendor, and then when things change it in real time. That's the only way to do that. It's the only way this could work, and the only way this could scale, right? And integrate into the enterprise and provide that data that the enterprise is so desperately looking for.
Great. And I was just wondering, Richard, when you think about this challenge, are there long tail challenges or niche issues that might come into play as well from managing all the invoices that you get around the world?
Well, I think the first challenge is always to get the first invoices. And if you have the first invoices, you will get the second and the third. But you have to set up the process. And that needs to be consistent. So if you have the possibility, what we do for most vendors, we do not only download the PDF invoice, but we only download the data behind it. And that data is normally more consistent, so to say, because it comes from the vendor billing system, and they don't change that every 10 years. But the look and feel of an invoice might change every few years. So it helps with consistency and less changes in the automation that Jason is mentioning. So that's something that we always try to find the most consistent way of getting the invoices in. Make sure the mapping is set. Make sure that the automation knows how to treat the data that is received. And as long as there are no changes, it's an automated process, and there are no manual interference anymore.
So that focus on foundational data and really having that set up as a starting point is an important place, important for a global environment.
Yeah. And luckily, we don't receive that much paper invoices anymore, which was pretty standard in the past. But if you have 2,000 lines and at a vendor, you might have a paper invoice on your desk of 5,000 pages. That's not nice to work with, but that does not happen anymore.
Great. It only took us a couple decades into the 21st century to get there.
Exactly.